Welcome back, listeners, to the Week in Horror podcast. We hope everyone has an amazing and safe Halloween. It's upcoming Saturday. This week we're covering October 25th through the 31st. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Alex, and with me as always is Jo and Eugene.
How's it going, everyone?
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Yo!
Yeah. Hello! Awesome. We're also so privileged to have an amazing industry guest, a couple of industry guests with us this week. We've got the founder of Dark Fable Media, the director of Exit Plan, and the co-hosts of the horror hit hosts.
Oh, co-directors
of see, there's too many hosts in this script. As well as the upcoming Dirge, director and DP Richard Oakes, and also with us is
Director Adam Leader.
Thanks, Jo.
You're welcome, sir. We love you, Alex.
We didn't actually get formally introduced before the show. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Okay, so basically, we have Richard and we have Adam with us. And first of all, it's very nice to meet you.
This is the first time we've done two. We've done two on the show at one time. I feel like I'm expanding my horizons.
Two at the same time.
Two at the same time.
What would you do with $1 million, Jo?
Two at the same time.
That's awesome. And you guys are joining us from the other side of the world. So we're looking at about 7:30 p.m. here. You guys are well into the night over there, huh?
Yeah, I'm just tucking myself in at the moment, just
getting ready to go.
I'm sitting here at 1:24 in the morning, having a very British evening with a cup of tea.
Cup of tea. That's how I end my nights too on this side.
British than that, fellas.
Now you take that right there, what he just said, a very British evening with a cup of tea, and then you compare that to the guy who brought us the movie Hosts. Yeah. There's a cognitive dissonance between those two.
It's a work-life balance, Jo. You gotta separate the two.
Work-life balance.
Either that or a split personality disorder. You know, it's one of them.
You know what? Hey, whatever it is, we're glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely, and a huge congratulations to both of you on the success of Hosts. I freaking loved it. I've seen it more times than I probably should have, but I loved it, and I had to show it to my wife. I had to show it to my friend. Really excellent work, and we are going to dive into that when we get to dive a bit deeper into that when we get to our After Dark session. But we've got movies to talk about, as Alex likes to say. So, Eugene, what do we have up first?
Oh yes, I've actually been waiting to talk about this film because it's a good bad film, which is some of my favorite types of films. And so we got released October 26th, 2002. I'm sorry, October 25th, 2002. We have the movie Ghost Ship.
Woo!
Yes, it was directed by Steve Beck, and it stars Julianne Margulies. I'm hoping I got that right. Oh, please don't sue me. And then Ron Elward, Desmond Harrington, and Isaiah Washington. And basically, it's a cruise ship that is adrift drift out in the ocean, and a couple scavengers go and find the ship, and they start diving looking for a supposed gold treasure. And basically, all of a sudden, they board the ship, and then a bunch of shit goes crazy.
It goes crazy.
And it's Juliana Margulies. The good wife is going to come after your ass.
She's an attorney too. Oh man, demonetized.
Now this was awesome because when we were putting this together, I know that Richard, this is your first time seeing this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
So first impressions.
From your perspective, we've got to get that takeaway because this one can throw you for your loop if you're not expecting it.
I mean, it was fun. That doesn't necessarily mean good, but
I think the term "good bad movie" really fits this one.
After that, I wasn't bored, but it kind of kept going in a way that just I found funny, and especially the ending with the blue floating people.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
That's one thing. That was the one killer. I did love the one thing I love most about Ghost Ship, despite its flaws, was that the movie never took itself so seriously. That it was a carnage flick. It was kind of a slasher flick, and that's what it wanted to be. So it knew what it wanted, and it was it, and that was pretty much it. You take it or leave it, and I can respect a film for that, at least that honesty.
But there was great stuff in it. Like I enjoyed the cinematography. The set design was great. There were some really, really good things in it, like some good set pieces going on. But yeah, there was some terrible kind of little bits that happened, like when the word thing like rejiggled itself to say, like welcome in or something. I can't remember what it was, or something creepy, and it was just like, oh, it's that kind of film.
I really, really did. You brought that up because the set design was really impressive. That's because early in the production, they were trying to find, obviously, ghost ships. So they were trying to find ships to friggin' shoot on, and shooting on an actual ship is really problematic just because of how they're designed, and movement of a camera system, especially with what they were trying to do, would have been very, very difficult. So they actually brought in Photon VFX, which was the FX company behind Scooby-Doo, and they had them pretty much handle everything. And they did CGI, animation, miniatures, live action stuff, prosthetics, pyrotechnics, everything. They handled everything under one umbrella. And so, I thought that was very impressive, because typically you use miniatures, you use CGI, you can kind of tell, and it can take you out of a picture. But this was really seamless. I have to give them props for that.
Yeah, no, the set design was perfect. You say about Scooby-Doo, I'm just wondering if they did the script as well, but like type of thing. Those pesky kids again. But yeah, no, the set design and the cinematography, the lighting was all pretty good. So it wasn't a bad film in that, like, production value and stuff. It was, especially for the time, I enjoyed that. So it didn't feel like kind of low budget. So yeah, it was, like I said, it's enjoyable. I had a fun time with it.
Oh, it's definitely a guilty pleasure.
Honestly, I think when I first saw this, because this came out in 2002, and the kind of running joke here is I'm the baby of the group. I was born in 90s, so in 2002 I was 12. I don't think I saw this movie until I was probably 14 years old. But the first couple minutes of this movie, no matter what happened after the first part of this movie, I was hooked in because of the first. And I think besides, like, your Friday the 13th, Halloween, slasher movies, this was probably one of the most gory openings to a movie that I've ever seen before at that time period in my life. So when you start this movie up, as most of you know, in the first 5 minutes of this movie, it's showing a ship full of people, they're partying, and then it shows some equipment, and the equipment starts to fail, and the end result is a metal wire, a big thick metal wire that's holding up something on the ship. Some things break, and this wire gets pulled across the entire crowd of people. And then for a moment, everything's quiet. That shows everybody's face. Like you said, the cinematography in this particular part of the movie was just, it was so suspenseful that you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, like, what happened? Is everybody dead? Everybody looks surprised. And then the people start falling apart. And I was like, oh shit. And
They're still
I couldn't get over the rest. I had to watch the rest of the movie. The whole time I was thinking about the first 5 minutes of this movie, though.
Yeah. But there's still moments where there's an arm that's not attached to a body that's reaching out towards the.
It was the dude who got caught in the midsection. He gets caught in half. The image of him crawling, because this is 2002, and I was like that was impressive. Just what I know now is a pretty simple effect to pull off, but I mean that looked good. And of course, the dude the captain who got caught in the mouth, and like that, and just kind of the head going forward and everything. It blew my mind. It's not what you expect in the level of carnage that early in the film. It's very reminiscent, very similar to Alvarez and what Fede Alvarez did in Evil Dead. Because the Evil Dead, everybody was kind of like 50-50. Oh, they're bringing Evil Dead back. There's no Bruce Campbell. What's going on? It's not even Sam Raimi directing. But that first 5 minutes, I saw that, and my jaw was on the floor. The girl in the basement with that whole sequence. I was like, holy fuck.
That's one film that both Rich and I think is incredible for a
I love it.
Oh,
It's
yes.
favorite horrors in the last couple of years. I think it's really good. I mean, it's a couple of years old now, but only saw it this year, and I was like, wow, really impressive.
There are times I will go back and I'm in the mood. I'm going to go back and just watch that intro. I'm going to watch that opening because the rest of it is part for the course. But that one just how he captured that was so brilliant. Just it grabs you, it doesn't let go. And it's so funny because the fans loved it. We all rejoiced in it, but the critics hit it so hard, for whatever reasons, that Don't Breathe, his next film, Don't Breathe, was like his response to that, which is why everything that occurs in Evil Dead doesn't occur in Don't Breathe.
But I still love that film as well. We watched that the other night. The suspense is like crazy in that.
Dude, that's friggin' oh god, Stephen Lang. Oh, Stephen Lang. Ever since I saw him in Avatar, actually, because I saw him in Tombstone when he was Ike Clanton. But when he was in Avatar, and he's like the badass, and he's like having a conversation, and the dude's on fire. He's like, I don't have time to be on fire. It's like, oh my god.
It surprised me. But there's stuff he does with the movement of his body in Don't Breathe, and the way he punches and stuff is so methodical. Like it's a really interesting performance, and I find him so compelling to watch in that film.
Absolutely brilliant. And unfortunately, we have poked fun a little bit, and for those listening, we poked a little bit of fun, but at Ghost Ship, because it's kind of a guilty pleasure. The first 5 minutes are pretty. I'll say the first 5 minutes are pretty stellar. The whole Lido deck scene is really intense, but then it kind of goes off the rails, and typically, and we've talked about this a great deal on this podcast, and as filmmakers, we've dealt with it at various points in our careers, and that is complications between the studio and the director, and what is intended. So if you have the director has this vision, and then the studio can have their vision, and it can be, I think I wouldn't be wrong to say that the studio's vision is a little bit more capitalistically inclined.
Say more commercially
inclined,
commercial friendly.
Whereas the director is more artistic, can be more artistically inclined because he has his vision of what he wants to produce and the story he wants to tell, and that kind of ran into it because whereas the director here, Steve Beck, really wanted to make a supernatural thriller where people find a derelict ship and there's ghosts on the ship, and then people he wanted to be more of a thriller in that respect, but interference came from above, and the studio wanted, and I believe it was Warner Brothers, underneath Dark Castle Entertainment, because Dark Castle Entertainment is what they're known for. They wanted a more graphic slasher type film, which is why we kind of get the final bad guy in the end. And you can see, I think that's where the big problem is. You can see where the heads kind of butted on.
Yeah, that bad guy at the end kind of threw me for a loop and was like, yeah, I've lost. I'm out now. Like
it felt very shoehorned.
It takes you out. Like it does. You're just like, oh, really? It came down to this.
Boss level. No, but unfortunately, we run into that. I've run into it on minor scales. I've never worked on anything large enough, but I have worked on things where I've had to deal with what the people above me who have supplied money or supplied resources, that they kind of get a say, and what they would prefer to have their name attached to, and that can lead to creative differences. And then you've got to be able to pick and choose. Eugene has told me, he's dealt with this. You have to know when to pick your battles and choose which hills to die upon. So.
Yeah, exactly. You have to, if you push for one, if you're pushing for one scene, you got to give another scene. Like you just, it's kind of that trade-off on it, especially on like an indie budget where you only have X amount of dollars that you can work with, and that dollar amount isn't really going to change. So you have to basically give and take. And if you're going to take Ghost Ship, for example, really push for that intro, knowing that I might have to have a bad guy in the end, but the wire cutting across people will remember that.
Yes,
totally. I think we're still to learn that. I mean, me and Adam are pretty like our way or the highway most of the time, so we've still got to deal with, like, if we end up dealing with bigger distributors or kind of companies and stuff, that might might be something we're going to find.
I think inevitably it is a bridge that we're going to have to cross, because the other films that we have written are substantially a lot higher budget than Hosts, and we intend to be speaking to bigger production companies. So I think there is going to be that inevitable conversation of, nope, you guys want the money to do it, you're going to have to do it this way, and we're going to be like, fuck.
You're gonna be like, no, but in your back of your head, you're like, all right, we'll fold real quick here.
But then what we can do is, learn how to manipulate them, so we can say what we want to do, but make them think it's their idea.
There you go.
There you go.
And on
Inception.
On the back end, you kind of give them what they want up front, get everything set, and when you're running on set, you kind of I would say adjust it to kind of look like but you shoot what you want and say, oh yeah, because the money's spent, we're rolling.
Yeah.
We're hot right now.
And the crew is there.
Sorry, guys.
Like Napoleon, man, you are fucking committed. Okay, you're there's no going back.
That's a little extreme. I mean, you can leave out the.
Well, because it's like a certain threshold. Like, okay, you're an upcoming filmmaker, and then once you get to the point where you're like, okay, now we're starting to do studio stuff, and you kind of have to give with the studio to the point until because once you get a couple of films, you get your name out there, it doesn't matter. You can pretty much do what you want. Once you get past that, it's kind of that mid-range area where you're kind of like, okay, Disney, I'll direct your next superhero movie, but I guess I'll have to do it this way, and then you can kind of move on from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. We might just be signing on next week, so we won't have to worry about it. But
this actually it poses a good question, and this is actually what I want to ask the audience. It has some supernatural elements with it, with the ghosts and stuff like that, but also it has some elements of a slasher. So actually, I want to ask the audience: do you consider this a supernatural or a slasher? And so let us know in either the comments below or email us at weekendhorror@gmail.com. So Alex, what do we got next?
All right, up next. This was a new one for me, which was fun. Graveyard Shift came out October 26th, 1990. I was just telling you, that was the year of my birthday.
Oh my god, I'm so fucking old.
You were like 10, weren't you, Jay?
I was born in 80, yeah.
This was directed by Ralph Singleton, written by Stephen King. Kind of the short story was written by Stephen King and John Esposito. I'm catching the Eugene. This one starred John Hall, Jane Wisconski. I'm sorry, those were the names of the characters in the movie. David Andrews, Kelly Wolf, Stephen Mack, Andrew Divoff. Brad Dourif was in this one, which I didn't even know before I started watching it. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. Vic Polizos. Why do you always give me the foreign movies, man?
I'm supposed to get the foreign movies.
And then a slew of other people that get murdered. This one was fun. This was a movie. They're in an old textile mill, and there's a rat infestation, and some people start to go missing, and nobody seems to really give a shit, which kind of blew my mind. They kind of pretend like everything's A-okay, and then this guy gets hired on. Long story short, there's a monster in the basement, and it's terrifying until you realize what it is at the end. And I was like, oh really? That's all it was. But yeah, it was good for a 90s movie. I was good with it. I want to read the short story to see how it correlates with this. Something that really threw me off though was they made it a point to show that the mill was like near a graveyard, and they did all this stuff, and it was like, then you get into it and these rats are super creepy. That one part where he tosses the rat into the machine and all the other rats are watching, it was like, oh, that dude's gonna die.
Man, it's so fucking like just that opening scene with that guy.
He's like such a dickhead.
I know, like at first, like I was like, oh, this guy actually seems quite nice, but then all of a sudden he picks a rat up, puts it in the mill, the grinding machine, and then he turns to the rats and he's like, "You want me to do it again, do you?" Right. And that it was at that point that I realized this is going to be fun. This film is fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was cool that they brought like the rats into it, and then you get to the end and find out, that it's a bat, and it was like, oh, okay, like, all right. I don't know. It was a good 90s movie. It was a good 90s. I want to read, like I said, I want to read the short story by Stephen King now, because I feel like that would be fun to read.
Yeah. See, I think for me, it was fun to watch. I guess it's similar to the Ghost Ship thing. I didn't necessarily think it was great, but it was definitely fun and entertaining to watch. And there were some moments I found hilarious, and I'll explain in a sec. But I feel like with Stephen King, some things are best left just as the book, because they're so much more terrifying.
Absolutely.
Whereas, but I think, in terms like the original It, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying and stuff like that. But when it comes to this, and I think I saw In the Tall Grass as well, and I feel like there are certain things that are best left to the imagination, because books can, there's nothing for you to see. You make up these images in your head yourself, and it's so much more terrifying. Yeah,
you're not wrong on It. I remember because my mother is a big fan of horror books, and King and Kuntz and various other authors are her favorites. And I remember, I can't remember what year it was, but my mother was reading It. So she had and of course, it fascinated me. It's this giant, book. It's a massive book. And so I was like, I want to take a look at this. So I started reading it, and I can tell you, I was probably 7, maybe 8, because we were living in California. We hadn't moved to Texas yet. So I was either 7 or 8 years old when I read that. And there's still a line in there, and that's when Pennywise grabs Georgie and is pulling him into. And I believe that, I believe I've still got the quote seared into my brain: flaring sheets of agony. And it was just how King described Georgie getting his arm ripped off, and what the kid was experiencing through that. And and I think I read that when I was single digits, and I'm 40 now, and I still recall that particular line. So sometimes the adaptation, there shouldn't be an adaptation. I would say there are several, like Trucks should not have been Maximum Overdrive, probably not not really good.
Not the best one. But I think you're all right, because it's nothing can beat the imagination.
Yeah.
Nothing can. Anything you put on screen is going to be less terrifying than what you can come up with. So showing more, and it takes away from that. It does. It takes away, because if you have a screen, all of a sudden the screen cuts someone's walking in a hall, screen cuts to black, all of a sudden you hear grinding and screams and all this other kind of stuff. It's more terrifying than seeing somebody get stabbed with a knife or hit with a hatchet.
Totally.
I'm sorry. I was to say the Exorcist 3 scene. The Exorcist 3 scene where it's literally 3 seconds of just walking across, a person in a sheet. Scared the fuck out of me. Still scares me to this day.
Adam made a really good point with Stephen King in particular too. And I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, but I just read his new book, and at the end of it, he makes a statement about how he comes up with these things. And he's getting up in his age now, and now it's at a point where he's kind of like, all right, fuck it, I'll talk to you. And he's like, listen, half of the shit that I've ever told anybody that, my inspiration for these books was bullshit. He's like, it was all bullshit. I just told people what they wanted to hear. What really goes on in my head is what you see on paper. It's not something that I was inspired by. It's something that just popped into my head. And it's like listening to somebody say that and knowing what they have done, their works, and the things that I've read. Because I've read most of the Stephen King movies that I've seen, I've read the book for, because his books are just so, like you said, it leaves it up to the imagination. But he describes scenes so well that it's a morbid scene that it paints in your head. And you can't portray that. I mean, you can use the best film, best cinematography. You'll never be able to portray the feeling that you get when you read his works, which is just insane. And then to hear him come out and be like, yeah, no, the inspiration for a lot of these is really just stuff that I was thinking about while I was driving my car. And it's like, man, you got a twisted fucking mind, bro.
Have you read Langoliers?
Sorry?
Have you read The Langoliers? I'd be interested.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this before. That was, I think, my first Stephen King movie that I ever saw was The Langoliers, and that's what started me on reading him too. Because
Scampering.
I had the book laying around when I saw it, and then so I read that, and I started jumping into everything like Rose Red. I did read most of it, and then I started reading everything that I could find on him. I just finished his brand new book that just came out this year, which is fantastic. It's called If It Bleeds. If it bleeds, it reads.
Kill it.
That was a big thing. That was a big thing about because we're talking about adaptations. That there was a lot in the book of Graveyard Shift, or the in that novella, in that short story. There was a lot that was left out because in the book, it's still the same situation where people are brought on to basically do a clearing out of an old mill. It's one of the last mills in Maine. One of the last cotton mills in Maine, and they go down into the basement, and there's a massive rat infestation. But and they realize this place goes deeper and deeper, and the deeper they go, they realize they eventually break into this enclosed ecosystem and the rats have evolved along their own lines. So there are then winged bats and winged rats and armored rats and giant rats and they eventually wind up discovering this giant, massive, like, queen sow rat that's pumping out other rats. It's friggin' disgusting. It's very, very gross.
Now, how terrifying would that be if there wasn't a film?
Seriously.
I don't even know if they could have shot that because I do dig the monster. I really liked the monster. That was a freaky monster. When Stephen Mocked does that whole "we're going to hell" together, it just runs at that fucker. I was like, okay, that's how you're gonna go out. Okay, I'm cool. Yeah.
I mean, hell, if you're gonna do it, do it.
And then the idea of that thing wraps him up in his wings. The idea of being wrapped up in something's wings as it eats me and not being able to breathe, that's freaky to me. That kind of like
shit.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You know what I loved about one thing that just sent me into tears of laughter in this film was who plays the actress that is it Kelly Wolf? She plays
Kelly Wolf, yeah.
The girl with like the short black hair and is that her and oh god, David Andrews, right? Plays the lead, right? Yeah. So they kind of, you see them sort of establish this relationship and you kind of think, oh, these guys are probably gonna do it or end up together or whatever, right? And it's kind of nice and stuff, and there's quite a genuine thing going on there, and they get on well. But like nothing happens with them. They don't sleep together or anything like that, right? But then when shit hits the fan, when they're in this cave, they have their first kiss, right? But it was so like, there was no build up to it. There was no like, we're gonna die, let's just kiss like with passion. It was literally like, we're gonna get out. And that was
I'm gonna try something, trust me. And how does it have to deal with anything?
I guess tragedy or trauma bonds people. I don't know.
It's like if the plane's going down, you that's the first thing I would think of. Like, if the plane's going down, just grab somebody and make it fun on the way down,
Oh, I'm doing more than kissing.
Yeah, but do it like you mean it. This was
right.
like take her, you like grab her like her face or the back of her head, or make it something to increase the intimacy, not just like, hey honey, we gotta go.
I know. And then she dies.
Decision then.
And the last thing that went through her head was, man, that guy was a pussy.
That was a kiss of that guy.
That was a terrible kiss. Really? That was my last one?
That's my last kiss? That's it? It makes me think of the scene in Dogma, where like it's like towards the very end, all of a sudden you see Jay starting to take his pants off. You told me if the world was going to end, we were going to do it.
I really dug some of the things they kept. Obviously, they left out the whole like ecosystem and the evolved, monster rats and everything. And of course, the scene where they break into the cave and there's like all the bones. That was in the short story. But the big sow monster thing was handled in a different way. I kind of liked putting the monster through the grinder. That was pretty effective. But one thing that they did keep was how, like you mentioned, Adam, like you mentioned earlier, that so many of these characters were just dicks. Like, oh, you're just gonna throw rats in the freaking mill. It's like, are you really? And then of course our protagonist, our lead guy who's gonna save the day, pretty much is down there using a slingshot to shoot rats with freaking soda cans. Like, are you that much of a dick? It's like, come on.
Pure product placement there, man.
Yeah, it's good product placement. It's the choice of the new generation.
The thing that got me the most was like how okay, so like we've worked in an industry where the standards were held really, really high.
Yes.
I've also worked in industries where there was zero standards, like in this movie, but it still blew my mind when it was like the people would die, people went missing, and they just like throw a now hiring sign up.
Yeah.
And this guy just kind of comes in and doesn't ask any questions, it's like, oh yeah, like, but then there's just no shits given about the people that go miss. Oh, and then like when they're talking about the 4th of July break, and they're like, anybody on union gets paid, anybody that's not on union is getting fucking fired. It's like there was so much like of the industry, like the union industry in this movie that it was like, wow, this is terrifyingly close to real life. And I don't know why they were putting it in there so strongly, but it was like, I don't know, that whole thing where it was just like, now hiring, we don't know where the other fuckers went, but we could use a hand over here.
There is one guy who asks Stephen Mott, he asks him, he says, what happened to the last guy? And then Stephen turns around and he's like, he didn't work out. And then that was it. Like, the other guy's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
If any actor has a face that you could just zoom in on, it's Stephen Mock in that role. And he captured the foreman. He captured that foreman perfectly from the book. The dude is like that, that even from the accent to the way he treats women to the way he's talking to people. Show's over. Everyone go back to doing what you were doing. And it was like the dude he was so on point, and I think arguably the best part of that movie. He was just entertaining to watch. He's so slimy. He's so disgusting. And, what do we got, kids? I don't know.
I agree.
It's just that moment when he's in there and he's found those old those old tools and he's taken the grease off of it and just run all over his face like he's back in Nam, like he's back in the war.
Back up, kids. The trees are talking.
It's such a trip, but definitely if anyone out there, if any of our listeners get the opportunity, definitely check out the short story. It's I believe it's collected in different seasons, or no? Oh shit, I can't remember.
The name that it's it. Oh
yeah, the Night Shift. It was in Night Shift. Sorry, it was collected in Night Shift. So definitely get a chance to check that out. But also, this film is a guilty pleasure of mine. It really is. I'll kick this on, when I'm going to bed one night, just kind of watch it, kind of fall asleep to it. That says a lot about me.
It sure does.
Very similar.
Well, I watch 1408 going to bed. I'll watch that one, anytime. So, but
I couldn't even leave the theater after 1408. I sat in the seat and I just contemplated life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
This is just
after
life
watching that movie. It's just like, do I go on? This pretty much ended it.
And unfortunately, like 1408, because King loved 1408. Hafstrom did an amazing job with that one, but unfortunately, he did not love this one.
No, he didn't. And let's see, the quote he said was, "It was a quick exploitation picture." Like, he did not like it at all. Which King, I think it's about like 50-50 in terms of movies of his that he likes and dislikes on it. But this was definitely one that he disliked on it. He probably thinking more like a serious tone or something like that, than versus a tone they kind of went with. But at the same time, it's like it's fun. And it's fun. It is. And I know it's hard when, especially if you're a writer and then you see someone adapt their work, it's never exactly how you imagine it as a writer, being kind of played out and everything. And sometimes it's better and sometimes you don't agree with it. He just didn't.
That's what's Stephen King's deal with rats? Like, if we could get him on the show, I just want to talk to him about rats.
Rats, cats. Hats.
It kind of looks a little bit like a rat, though, doesn't it?
Yes, a little bit.
Special.
I will say this: I do love that he cameos in so many of his movies, and while he didn't cameo in this one, But he does pop up from time to time in whatever he's doing, and in some role. But they did say that the owner of the mill was Mr. Bachman, which was his pseudonym at the time, which I thought was a nice little throw in. But I think his best turn was when he was in Sons of Anarchy. That character fit him because he was the cleaner that you would call to come in and like clean up a dead body, to make the dead body go away. So he was the dude who
was creepy in it too.
He was creepy as fuck.
He was really good at it.
Rolls in, he's got his son's cut on. He rolls up on his cycle, takes his helmet off, and he's got those beady eyes looking around, kind of like, and then he goes in just, like very, very professionally, checking measurements of the body, to take the blah, 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 like this. And then, okay, you guys leave. I need about an hour and a half. They come back an hour and a half later. It's done. What's done? Is it all over? It's gone. What's gone?
Yeah.
So it was perfect for him.
Yeah, he was really ominous in that. That was really good. I totally forgot about that whole cameo.
And they called him Bachman in that one too.
Yeah.
I still think he should have replaced Christopher Reeve as the new Superman. That's what I think. He looks.
I would actually take Stephen King over Brandon Routh any fucking day, and that says something about Brandon Routh.
Yeah.
Now we did talk about this being a 30-year-old movie now, and even seeing it now, I wouldn't say it was ahead of its time or anything. I think it was right on track with the era. But with the technology that we have now, and JL, you were saying they left a lot of stuff out. It would have been cool if they would have put a lot of the stuff from that book in. I'd like to ask the audience: would you like to see a remake of this movie? Is it necessary? I think, like it's been talked about, it was a little underwhelming. You're saying it's a little underwhelming compared to the story, but now that we've kind of adapted to Stephen King's mind, it's taken many years and we've gotten pretty close. I know, Adam, you were talking about In the Tall Grass, and that was another one that I would agree could probably stay a book, just because of, like you said, being able to picture it in your head. It was a lot more terrifying to make your own thoughts on it. But with where we're at with Stephen King's works, and kind of with the directors that have worked with him, and kind of honed in on what he likes to see, could there be a remake to this movie? I think you could probably do a pretty good remake to this movie. We haven't seen a good rat movie for a long time. I think the last one I saw was I can't even remember what it was called, like Wilson or something like that.
Probably Willard.
Yeah, Willard.
Yeah,
that's
Willard.
What it was. Yeah, and that was the last time I saw anything that had to do with rodents, really. I think this one would be good. I think we could bring it back and use some good CGI and kind of bring back more of the short story. I got to go read it because it sounds like it's much more detailed than the movie was. So yeah, audience, let us know. What do you think? weekendhorror@gmail.com or punch a comment in below. All right, JL. So let's go classic.
Yes, we're gonna go.
Fitting for the time of month.
Yes, absolutely. I am glad that we got to cover this one this week. So we're going back, back before Alex was born. October 30th, 1981 was the release of Halloween 2, the follow-up to Carpenter's classic. Now, this was directed by Rick Rosenthal and written by John Carpenter and his partner at the time, Deborah Hill, and starring, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, and a host of others. And this follow-up picks up immediately after the events of the first Halloween. Laurie Strode is being taken in to the hospital. Michael Myers is still alive, and they continue the battle against him until they think they finish him off at the end. But it's a wild, wild ride. Made all the better because we don't have any of the exposition from the first film to introduce these characters. We get straight into the carnage and the gore. So a lot of definitely a bolder take on the story than the original Carpenter version, but still one that some people feel is superior to the first.
JL, I'm sorry, I have to cut in. Last age joke of the night. I was doing the math because you said before I was born, and I was like, I was but a twinkle in my dad's eye. But then I thought about it, and my dad was 21 years old when this movie came out.
I think my dad was 23 or 24. I think so. Yeah. Oh my God, my dad was in his 20s. Holy shit.
Oh wow.
That's okay. If you really want to go that way, my mom was 12. She had just turned 12.
Now I know we dumped the when I selected. I wanted to select this one because I definitely wanted to put this one in Richard's hands because it's such an amazing for sequels, for horror sequels, which usually don't pan out very well. This one really did,
especially back then.
Yeah, I think it was, in my personal opinion, an improvement. I mean, I will put my hands up here and say this is the first time I've seen both of them. I had to watch the first one as well this week because I knew we'd be comparing, and I watched them both, and I do think there's a little bit of had to be there kind of vibe with it. Films have changed and kind of got better pacing and stuff like that. These films are quite long-winded, I think. But the second one kind of was straight to the punch. And what I loved was it literally felt like you'd paused the film and then unpaused it because it carried on exactly. And the cinematography was identical. Even a few years later, it looked like it was exactly rolling off the same stock and everything. So that was impressive. There was a bit more tension to this. The thing that I was more disappointed with this one was the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis, as incredible as she is, was just confined to a bed for the whole film and barely conscious. And that was a bit of a shame because in the first one, she is the shining light of the actresses. The other actresses are quite poor in the original. It's really good. I'm glad to see, what's his name? I forget his name, the psychiatrist.
Doug
Loomis.
Yeah. In this one, he actually got out of the bush and was wandering around the town trying to actually do something helpful rather than sitting outside Michael Myers' house in a bush for the whole film.
And then jumping out there with a gun, only to not kill his ass.
It was good to see all that kind of playing out. And there were some tense scenes in the hospital, and it was good. I think there's less boobs scenes in this one, but they were longer, so
of course. So it's a good balance.
The time of boob on screen is about the same.
For everybody who can't see what people are doing, they're definitely adjusting their hands. Analogy.
Up and down as they are playing with titties. I like how that's the word that I tried to censor myself on. Fuck shit ass, and I'm like, wait, titties? Can we say titties?
can we say titties?
Can we better moments? Anyways, despite I felt like in the first one, the majority of the film, about 3/4 of the film, was just people walking and then a shot of Michael standing behind them in a bush or out the window, or they'll put a book down and he's just there and just in the background shots. I'm like, cool, we've seen this 20 times now. Can we have him kill someone, please?
Please stab somebody.
The only saving grace of that was Carpenter's score. He's a very, very talented composer. The work that he's done and the work that he's done when he's in league with Ennio Morricone, rest in peace. But the work that he's done is fantastic. I love his minimalist style. And it plays very well to, I think, his shooting style as well. And this this actually translates to The Thing. It translates to In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Dark. His entire Apocalypse trilogy to They Live was very minimalist in it, so that you could focus more on the action and just kind of get the kind of emotive beats behind it, which is really good. His big one, Big Trouble in Little China, he got a little bit more bombastic, and I think we didn't get the same kind of, which is why that doesn't really feel like a Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
So we can suffer. Go ahead.
No, I love the minimalism, especially in The Thing. That score is so just that dun dun
dun dun.
Yes.
It's perfect. And I think that's one thing I kind of got a little bit lost with, because I only saw The Thing a couple of years ago for the first time. I kind of got more into the horror as I've gotten older rather than when I was younger. And The Thing is still incredible. It's amazing. And I still prefer the original to the remake / prequel, even today. But kind of looking at Halloween, I feel like that had to be, you had to kind of be there at the time. And it was strange that it was the same director that kind of managed to do something that was timeless, but Halloween, that I guess has a massive fan base, didn't feel timeless to me, if you know what I mean. There were some great moments, like when he kills the boyfriend and he comes in wearing the sheet and the glasses. That was amazing. There wasn't any moments like that in the second one, so I guess that's a plus for the first one. Things like that I thought were great, but I felt overall it didn't have a lot going on other than a guy in a bush.
The thing, it's so funny that you mentioned that you mentioned that one particular scene, because if you look at the size of Michael Myers in that first film and the size of her boyfriend, and this dude, so it's like, okay, so her boyfriend was like 5'10", 5'11" at best, and he leaves. He leaves to go get a beer, and then he obviously gets picked up and nailed to the wall with a friggin' butcher knife, and then comes back in. Now your boyfriend is 7 feet tall, wearing a sheet with the glasses all crooked shit, and you don't notice that this is not your boyfriend. I was like, okay. I mean, all right. Like you said, the the character not very bright. Jamie Lee Curtis was obviously leagues ahead of everybody around her.
Yeah.
Well, see, it brings a really good point, because like with Richards just watching it recently and just being like, oh, well, you kind of have to have been there. It's interesting because you've seen all the tropes that have been created by the Halloween series already. So when you're finally seeing it, you're like, oh, well, I've seen this before, instead of being like at that time when those tropes didn't even exist.
This is what I was saying earlier. Yeah, it was that when I was watching, I was like, this is so cliche, and I had to keep reminding myself, no, this is where the cliches came from. Do you know what
I mean? He feels like he's just copying everything. No, he was first.
No, I get that.
And it's wild. Typically, because obviously the franchise kind of fell off a little bit, because Halloween 1, Halloween 2 is were both fantastic. Halloween 3, I actually admire them. I'm a fan of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I really admire the fact they wanted to do something different, very similar to what they did with the Friday the 13th franchise. They try to take Jason out of it and go in another direction. But then of course 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My God. And it just kept, sliding until all of a sudden 2018 rolls around and fucking Danny McBride, and David Gordon Green are like, let's do another one. And I'm like, and I heard about that. I was like, Danny McBride is involved? What it was almost as shocking as hearing Chris Rock is fronting a new Saw film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, Chris Rock? And it turns out Chris Rock is a huge Saw fan. I'm like, oh, didn't see that coming. So,
I know, it's crazy.
And then all of a sudden, I love that they unabashedly, retconned. I love that they took that risk. They unabashedly retconned everything all the way back to 1. Basically, everything that was in 2 all the way through 9, I think, or 8. There's 6, 7, 8. Yeah, because there were 8. Like H2O and Resurrection. Sorry, I'm checking my internal list. But all of that just was relegated to urban legends and stories that were told amongst the residents of Haddonfield over the last 40 years.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, so now we have Halloween 1, 1978, and Halloween 2018.
You're talking about so before the new Halloween came out back in, was 2018? God, was that long ago? Previously, like in 2017, John Carpenter was talking about how the new Halloween film was going to retcon everything that happened before it. And it was like, how? And that's what got me into the theater, was like, how is he going to pull? Because we've gone through so much. And like you were saying, the first one, like you said, it was like you paused it and turned it back on. It was the second one. I was like, how are they going to transition back into that kind of smoothness? I don't know if a better word, but to go back and like, so when John Carpenter was like, yeah, we're going to retcon everything from before, it was like, really? And then like you said, you get into it and it's like the urban legends, and it's like they've been talking about it the whole time, just like we have. And I think that's why it played off so well, is because it was like they couldn't just do another one and be like, oh, he's back. It had to have the backstory to it. So they spent so much time in the first new one, going back and covering everything. And like, oh, this is what happened. This is what was going on in Michael's head, essentially. And then they get into Loomis a lot into that one. And then, and then we get screwed over by the quarantine, and the second one doesn't come out, and I'm pissed, because it's like, now we've built it back up. We've taken everything that we had before. We spent an entire movie building it back up. Now what? Like, is it gonna be a fresh, where are they gonna go with it? What fresh hell does Michael have in store for us?
Can I ask a noob question on this? Just because I have no idea. Do they ever explain why Michael is indestructible?
Okay, that was the big thing in
3 different ways. Yeah.
in 4, 5, and 6. Because 1 and 2 were Michael, 3 was not. But with 4, 5, and 6, they were leading up to this idea that there was this satanic cult called like the Circle of the Thorn or something like that.
So yeah, something of the Thorn.
Yeah, and that they were basically utilizing Michael and they selected him when he was a child, but they were basically utilizing Michael Myers and to funnel demonic energy into him to build him up and to eventually become like the avatar for their Satan or something on Earth.
Right.
So, but it took time. They had to channel energy into him. So it was this big cult trying to make him into this bigger thing, which is why he had relative or invulnerability, or you could hurt him, but you couldn't kill him. That's why he always kept coming back. And
then they scrapped that after 7?
Yeah, that was just it was silly and ridiculous, and that's why I dug the retcon. You could literally take Halloween 1, you take the first one, and then just right at the end of it, put a big Avengers style title card 40 years later, and then just run 2018.
And then you can run 2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You could stop right at 1 and because they don't in 2018. They don't touch on any of that stuff. They don't touch on 4, 5, 6. Pretty
7,
much anything after. Pretty much anything after 2. I mean, not even really. I mean, 2. So anything after 1 and 2, you could stop there, and then move to 2018, and the story would still be good.
Yeah, and you just go from there. I mean, that is exactly, and it also with the 2018, because you're talking about it's maybe pacing wise for the older films, the 2018 it still maintains that feel. Has some great kills. My favorite kill being the one shot where he goes through the house, which is so well done.
That tracking shot was brilliant.
Yes.
Oh, it was so good when the camera's following him as he's doing his thing. Fuck.
Yeah, just completely well done. And it's still close enough to the old series where old fans can enjoy it, but newer fans can easily pick up on the Halloween 2018 one. Easily pick it up. So because I think
for sure.
Yeah. And I think we were supposed to it was supposed to come out this year, the second one, right? Halloween Kills?
Yeah, it was supposed to. It got delayed till next year.
Yeah.
2021. Which sucks because I was kind of excited about that, but whatever. You know what always gets me? I know we've talked about it before, but very little people know about the fact that the Michael Myers mask was a cast of William Shatner's face.
Yeah.
It was a Captain Kirk mask that was just painted white. So after I learned that fact, I went back and rewatched the first one, and I can't get William Shatner's face out of my head now when I see Michael Myers mask. It's fantastic.
It's genius. I love it. But
the only thing too.
No, go ahead.
That opening shot in the first one, I absolutely adored. That's 5 minutes long of Michael killing his sister, and it starts with the very opening shot of him watching through the window and then going in through the house up the stairs, and it's all one shot, and I love that. And I was like, oh, this is I'm getting real good vibes from this, and then I felt. It kind of paused for about an hour.
Yeah, he paused standing outside the bush. That's the classic iconic scene.
Alex just reminded me of that meme that I recently saw. And it's a picture of William Shatner from back on the original Star Trek. And he's kind of at the camera going what? And he's like, no, officer, I wasn't in Haddonfield recently. But this is an interesting point because both of y'all, Richard and Adam, as both writers and directors, retconning is a thing that people are very, very, very divided on. Whether it happens in your favorite genre, whether it happens in your favorite comic book series, or whatever, there are, I would say, like I said, people are divided on it from an artistic or a creative standpoint. But how does that sit with you guys when you see it? Or have you encountered it much? Or has it happened to anything that you guys love? Like Doctor Who?
I've got something, but Adam, have you got anything?
No, you go ahead, man. You go ahead.
It's happened recently with me with one of my favourite computer games of all time, which is Final Fantasy VII. And they've just done the remake, and they massively retconned it.
They retcon the shit out of that, dude.
I really don't know how I feel, man. I'm waiting for the sequel to see if they completely have got this, man, because I'm like, you what? And like kind of putting all the pieces together, I'm like, this is a complete retcon. This isn't the game you promised. This is a sequel. Like this is balmy. Like and I think that was disingenuous of the makers of it, because they promised the game we knew and loved kind of modernized, and it's not. Like, and it's kind of hurts. Do you know what I mean?
There's a
almost
sting.
I
There's
get you,
a
I
definite
get you.
sting.
You almost had to expect it though. You take something that's so good, and then this big promise. It was such a letdown. You're right. Absolutely, it was a letdown because it was like, no. So yeah, no. The sequel would be the next one's. Yeah. I'm right there with you. Sorry, I got so much to say about Final Fantasy VII. This is not the podcast.
I was fixing to say, because I'm a huge Final Fantasy VII fan. I played it when it first came out on PlayStation 1, and I beat it so many times. And yeah, you're right. No, it hurt.
Did you ever beat Emerald Weapon?
Yeah. Emerald and Ruby
Question
Weapon.
is, did you?
No, I never did. I was too busy having sex with girls.
I'm sorry. I was having sex with girls that would play with me.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do, Alex.
Up, down, left, right,
that's
left, right,
how
start.
That's how I knew my fiance was the one. Was we were at home one day and she's like, "You want to play video games?" I was like, "Let's get married."
Perfect woman.
It looks like
Adam, what did you have?
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, I said that. Yeah, I thought you had something after Richard.
When that term, do you mean like? Does it mean like expecting something completely different than when you
retroactive continuity? It's when they go back and they change what has already taken place in order to justify the story that they're going forward with.
Oh God. I don't know. Like off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
But yeah, so I think the retconning of, I think the best example I think that you guys might be able to relate to and so many people is that when Moffat was in charge of Doctor Who and there were retcons done to Christopher Eccleston's Doctor, and they changed things that occurred in the series in order to justify where they were going with Capaldi. So there were issues there, and people were really, really pissed because it was Moffat who did that. And to a lot of people, Eccleston's Doctor is very, very sacred because that was, it was a very important aspect of the Doctor that needed to be there to, for the storyline. But then they fucked it all up with the whole like Christmas special and whatever like this. But it's that example, or changing the one that digs, that I fucking hate the most was fucking Quesada. Joe Quesada at goddamn Marvel, I could kick him in the teeth for this, was retconning 60 fucking years of Spider-Man, because of all the things I'm a fan of, I'm a fan of Spider-Man the most. And he was literally the first comic I ever picked up in my life. And Joe Quesada fronted a story called One More Day, where Peter Parker's trying to save Aunt May and no one can save her, no one can help. So he eventually ends up going to Mephisto, and Mephisto says, "I'll save Aunt May if you never," or basically the payment was you were never with Mary Jane. So, and then Peter says yes. So then, right then, 60 years of comics never took place. And it was like, fuck you. Wow. Yes, I was really pissed.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta end this now.
Yeah.
What a guy.
So, yeah, the effects of retcon, I would say any artistic field is very, very divided, because some people feel it freshens things up, that allows more people to look into it, because they know it won't be the same. But some people feel it dishonors the original content, and it completely shits all over the work the work and the passion that was put into it beforehand. I tend to lean to that one, because retconning shit is a cash grab move.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on that, man. I'm on the same page for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I have to mention it, and because me being a huge Star Wars fan, and them retconning 163 books. They completely, like, me and my roommate, we have every single Star Wars book, like like on bookshelves, like all over, like all over the house. And so you grow up.
I thought you kept him in bed with you. Just like
Yes. And so they went and they retconned all of them once Disney bought it. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll see what's going to happen. And so then when you had the Han Solo story and a lot of those movies took a nosedive, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, well, a good Star Wars story is really hard to find.
and every EU author was like, fuck you.
Exactly. I was like, you have all these books. Just turn one into a movie.
It's wild.
I love that we're doing this podcast over Skype because of being across the world from each other. This is the first time we've done it other than our live show, and everybody is making hand gestures that nobody can see over the recording. It's great. There's arms filling everywhere. JL is flipping off the camera. It's fantastic.
We had this earlier as well, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the titty thing.
All right. Well, I definitely want to ask the audience whether or not you're a fan of the new films or not. What are your thoughts on how Halloween Kills is going to play out? Because we got 2 more films coming up in this new Halloween trilogy. We got Halloween Kills and we've got Halloween Ends. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you dig where they're going with it? Do you not dig it? Do you like what Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and Blumhouse brought to the table? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'd love to hear what you think. Leave us a note in the comments or hit us up, weekinhorror@gmail.com. Definitely send us those emails. Alex is very, very lonely and needs to hear from you.
Yes.
All right, Eugene, we've got 1 more left on the docket. Bring it home.
All right. We got released October 30th, 2009, and is The House of the Devil.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. It was directed by Ty West.
Oh my God!
Was it a question or?
I thought it was. I've been saying T West, to be honest. But I don't know what's right.
That's actually English, and you like a good cup.
T West.
T West. And so it stars Jocelyn Donahue, Tom Noonan, Tom Noonan, Mary. Oh man, this one's bad. Mary
Voronov,
and Greta Gerwig. And also on top of that, you got AJ Bowen and Dee Wallace.
My girl.
Wallace. And so basically in a nutshell, you've got somebody who got a new college student who is taking up kind of a babysitting job over at this house. And instead of babysitting a child, they end up babysitting a mother, and the family has like a terrifying secret and shit gets crazy.
That it does.
It gets really crazy.
Not even like a little crazy. It gets really weird really fast. When she opens up when she's looking at the pictures, you're like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah, this is one of those like the color is inside the house kind of movies.
I was confused when I watched it. I went up because I thought, okay, this is an old film, and then I was doing my research on it, and it's like 10 years or 11 years ago, man. It's like I thought like it's got a super like 80s vibe to it, and I don't know if I don't know. You know what?
I don't know what to think.
Be careful here, because it's a dark sky film.
I mean, I think the truth is I personally I didn't love it. I thought there was some cool stuff in terms of like the vibe and the cinematography and everything. I felt like it dragged a little bit, but you know, a lot of films do that and stuff with the intent of creating tension and stuff. I mean, we do it in our film, but I felt like with this, for me personally, it lacked that tension. There was like, I don't know, it was like loads of shots of, you know, Jocelyn like just running, and then she comes back and her roommate's banging some guy, and then she goes, and then she comes back and she's snoring, and then she goes and she comes back and she's awake, and like that's all this stuff, and then she goes to the guy's house, you know, the Satanist's house, whatever they are, right? And he's like, order pizza, order pizza, order pizza, like 3 times. It's like, okay, we get it, but then nothing happens.
Pizza.
And like nothing happens, and then her roommate that dropped her, you know, she's like come back at 12:30 or whenever it is, and she goes, and then the guy gives her a light for her cigarette, and then shoots her in the face, and I'm like, sick, something's gonna, you know, this is where shit gets real now. And this was, I think, about 45 minutes in or something to the film. Like, cool, awesome. But then nothing happens for another half an hour. And, but then the end, you know, the ending was just batshit crazy, you know, and whatnot. But yeah, but it was cool. I just felt like it lacked that dread for you know, say 2/3 of it. It just lacked that dread for me. But it was cool. I dug the vibe for sure.
Yeah, because there is a difference between something that generates tension. Like I think a movie that that does that well would be like Hereditary. How you have like these shots just inside the house where nothing's going on, but it plays into, it kind of sets up the mood. It sets up it still has its own purpose.
Or it follows.
And so it follows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But there are films out there that'll try to establish that same tension, and it just kind of falls. If your premise isn't established well right off the bat, and you're not willing to being able to pick up the purpose of the shots, and the shots fall flat.
I think that there's a balance that needs to be maintained between, you know, your visual aesthetic, and I think also I hate to throw it's your actors. Okay, your performances have got to be able to elevate the scene. You know, and it's just been, that was my kind of view in this, is that I see where they're trying to go with this, but when one area lacks, you've got to be able to pick it up on the other side so that you can kind of maintain a little balance. This is not really working, but we can sell it with this, just like Ghost Ship. At the end, you know, Ghost Ship is like, wow, this is going to descend into something silly, but we still got that 5 minutes. We still got that first 5. And unfortunately, I thought that there just wasn't enough on either side to kind of hold it up. You know, it's kind of like, well, maybe it's really, really well acted. Well, maybe it's this. It's like, and it's 6s across the board, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're right. Because with good performances, if you get 2 good actors, they can be talking about doing laundry, and it'll be one of the most interesting conversations you ever had.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
They're just able to. I mean, Quentin Tarantino does that better than anybody. When they're talking about a Royale with cheese, they're talking about fucking McDonald's. Yeah. That is it. But we all know that scene.
Why does everyone go to Tarantino?
Because he's in.
Yeah, he's like just like a go-to.
I've done it. No, I've done it myself. I consistently, the whole point, the whole inspiration behind this podcast was pretty much us sitting around talking what we like. Like in the I literally used the example, like, you know, the diner scene in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Where we have a really compelling story about a really compelling, you know, tale about why Steve Buscemi, why Mr. Pink doesn't fucking tip. I was kind of like, why? And then his explanation, it was like, holy shit! Oh wait, yeah, we have a fucking robbery we got to get to, but this was really interesting. So that's kind of what I wanted to create when I did this. I find it interesting every time we talk about that kind of aspect. It always comes back to Tarantino and creating those scenes, and allowing your acting to build, to basically lift up the script, to pull that much out of there. But then again, he wasn't working with Travolta or Jackson, you know.
He's the master of tension, and we took a lot of cues from him with when we were doing hosts, and we weren't taking cues from like your typical horrors and stuff. We were looking at Tarantino films for inspiration for stuff, and the, you know, not to kind of go off on our film at this point, but like the dinner table scene was massively inspired by Tarantino, and that was kind of one thing that we wanted to do. But yeah, so I think he nails that.
Oh yes. The moments in between the action, he completely just, you know, is bullseyes every single time. The little things that like, you know, these guys were around, the characters don't begin at the action. What's going on before then? True Romance had some of the best ones. You know, that was some of his top notch. You know, just those moments there. I love the whole when they at the very end when they're all in the was that the penthouse, so they're up there in the office and everybody is there and just kind of like which direction is this going to go? This is going to end bad, but where is it going to, you know? But I love the build up to that, and you know he is a master at it. He's inspired, I think, all of us.
Totally.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
The score is important as well of keeping the scenes that you want to kind of keep long and build tension. You need score there. If you haven't got really compelling dialogue, you need really kind of the score to kind of tell the story of what you're not seeing. Do you know what I mean? Because you can show, you know, a shot of a parking lot or something like that with no music, and it's like, this is boring. But you put some dreadful music on top, and you're like, there's something important about this parking.
Somebody's going to come out from behind a car now, you know. I wanted to touch on something. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say, I wanted to touch on something that Adam had said, the nostalgic, you know, it's supposed to be an 80s feel to the movie. And, you know, you're talking about a lot of down parts, but I think in this movie, there was a lot that a lot of people wouldn't really pick up on unless they knew about the 80s films. Like the films, the cinematography, the filming style, they did a lot of the zoom in shots on the characters.
Yeah.
And that was big. When they released this movie, they did a promotional release on VHS, like in an old clamshell box. And I think the last one to be released on VHS was like in 2005. So like they did the promotional thing. And then while Samantha's watching TV, Night of the Living Dead is on the TV, and they played songs. One Thing Leads to Another by The Fix, which was like one of the top songs in 1983. You know, so they touched on a lot of stuff. They did a lot of work in the background to make it feel. I think it was even shot on 16 millimeter film to give it that retro.
They kind of they wanted to pay homage to this style behind like Amityville Horror, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of like Halloween, of those early slashers, and create that same kind of feel to that. So yeah.
Well, and then they also paid major homage to a movie from the 80s. The couple, the last name was Ullman's, and so that's The Shining. The hotel manager's name was Ullman. And so like they really touched on so many things that if you didn't know what you were looking for, you wouldn't see it. And this movie coming out not that long ago, you know, you wouldn't think a lot of people around the age to be watching scary movies, teenagers would even know. So I thought that was really cool. And while there was like a lot of down, like you said, there's a lot of just back and forth around the house, and you're watching them live life more than there is scary parts until you hit midnight, which was, you know, 12 o'clock, the lights explode and everything goes to shit. But it was I thought it was really cool. I was picking up when I was watching this, because I just watched this. I hadn't even known this was a film until recently, and I was just watching. I was like, man, this is, look at it, because Night of the Living Dead was on the TV. I was like, no shit. So then I went back and I was like watching. I started it from the beginning after I saw that, and I was watching for stuff like that. But yeah, that 16 millimeter film, the zooming in, the 80s feel was really cool. I really like it. Was fun to watch because of that feel. Especially because it's such a newer movie and people don't do that anymore.
I like it. It was really, really honest. I really dug it because it was a legitimate homage. Because sometimes you can kind of tell the difference between, you know, we're stealing this because it works, or we are paying tribute to this because it was so awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, and recognizing the shoulders that you're standing upon, which is in art, I think, is very, very important. And I dug that it did that because it was there, and if you recognized it, very cool that you recognized it. But we're not going to draw so much attention to it that it's like, oh, look what we did! Yeah, it's amazing.
It's not Fear Inc.
Exactly, it's not Fear Inc.
Yeah, when you're trying to shoehorn something like that, where it's like, oh, well, we're going to do so much, we're just going to throw it in your face. So, oh, we're huge horror fans. Look at all the horror nuggets and tidbits that we have in our film, instead of just actually being able to slide it in like the right way.
Yeah. And it's technically masterful, you know, in creating the 70s and 80s. It reminded me a lot of It Follows, because so much, I can't even imagine the set dressing work done for It Follows, because the purpose of It Follows was to create an anachronistic environment that you could never quite pin down what year it was. And it was very, very disorienting. The sets themselves were a part of the character. Everything from the clothing to the cars to what was on TV to the technology that was around was very, very weird because it didn't sit anywhere. So you had no idea what decade you were in. I loved this one because so much attention to detail has to go in to creating not just the look, not just the technical look of the film, but also what you are shooting. Because even if you make your film look old, or if you use older style film to do something, if your set designs, if your set dressings are not done correctly, then you're going to blow it. It's going to fall apart in the end. So you've got to watch, like you said, Night of the Living Dead on the television. But what kind of television? What kind of house is this? What is everybody wearing? The slang that people use, the hairstyles that they do. It's technically savage to go in there and try to nail everything. Because as Eugene and I both, we've all experienced, you get on set and that eye ends up picking up things that you may not have caught. Which is, why we rely on our set designers and our artistic directors in order to make sure that these things happen.
Absolutely. A lot of work goes into it for sure, and I think props to them for that, because there is a lot. And I agree with you, man. Like it's from everything. Like I like how you explained that the Night of the Living Dead. Well, it needs to be on an old TV from that time. Even down to the sound as well. It needs to sound like it's in the 80s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like absolutely every.
You can't have like a 2020 Camaro blasting by the house, And
that fucking TV better have 3 channels.
Yeah.
1, 2, and you.
But I guess the thing, I haven't seen the film, so I can't comment on whether, Adam watched this one, but I think it would be a shame if you kind of spend all the time and all the production on making it look legit and then forget the story. I guess that might be something that I would have an issue with, but like I said, I haven't seen it, so it needs to hold up as a film.
I think yeah.
King, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. That was probably the letdown for me personally, just because it was fun when shit got real at the end, but I was also not surprised that something like that was going to happen. And then I sorry to anyone that hasn't seen it, but I literally said, she's not going to shoot him, she's going to shoot herself. And then she shot herself. It was really...
You said one comment to me earlier, and you were like, they've spent so long setting up this pizza thing, and all the other people had to do was phone and say she's in the house.
Yeah.
Hey, there's another thing too. I was reading in the when I was researching this movie, the pizza, when she orders the pizza scene, that actually, there was a thing that was I don't know if you guys had read up on it, but when she was ordering the pizza guy asked if she wants a pizza with extra anchovies, and it was a nod to Loverboy with Patrick Dempsey. And the extra anchovies reference meant that the pizza boy was delivering something other than pizza, like drugs, weed, whatever. But so that was another nod. You kept bringing up the pizza thing, and I forgot to bring that up. But that was another thing that was in there that I would have never even thought of until I read it, and I was like, oh no shit, yeah, okay.
So he's getting something else.
Yeah,
on top of that pizza.
You want extra anchovies? Yeah, it's like, yeah, that was cool. The 80s, man. It was.
And I got to give it to him. Ty West loves the genre. You can tell that a lot of love went into it. A lot of honesty went into it, and I could see the heart. I really can see the heart in the movie. It may not have been his absolute best. He's had some good ones. His work on the ABCs of Death was really, really good. And there was another one. I think he was Tales from the Loop. His work in that is fantastic. But I'll always remember him because when I heard it was Ty West that directed this, I was like, holy shit, that's the dude who got shot in the eye with a crossbow, and you're next. The first kill in that movie was Ty West. He was like, yeah, and he's in there. He's in there playing like the pretentious, I do documentaries. It's just like, oh, he's just being a dick. And he's like, hey, what's that? Boom, crossbow shot. Okay, we got it.
Done. Over.
See you later, Ty.
And so now we've talked about how this film pays homage to lots of like this so, a little bit from 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Excuse me, homage.
Homage.
All right, prissy bitch.
And so actually I want to ask the audience, what is your favorite homage that came out of this film? We can talk about in terms of references of Pizza and The Night of the Living Dead and some other ones, or even simply just the way it was shot, the cinematography on 16 millimeter. Let us know what your favorite homage is, either in the comments below or email us at weekendhorror@gmail.com.
Oh yeah.
You keep saying homage, and I keep thinking of Eminem's Rap God when he's like, "Pay homage, baby."
Oh,
All right.
I
Alex,
almost said homage.
We got one birthday this week, right?
Oh,
Just
yes.
one. Yes, we got one this week, and
But
that
it's a
would
big
be.
one.
It is. It really is. And we've got Sir Peter Jackson.
The man,
as Eugene likes to say, the man, the myth, the legend. He was born October 31st, 1961, which is actually very close to my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. Happy birthday, Mom. Both my parents' birthday this month. Happy birthday, guys.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Woo! Okay,
And
so
happy birthday, Sir Peter Jackson. Many of you know him from one film and one film only. Or series.
This is a special one because we try to do birthdays every single episode. And we do like to shine kind of like a light on some of the lesser known character actors or some of the people that you might not be aware of, but we do hit legends on occasion. And Peter Jackson obviously is one of the biggest ones, but this is also the second time that we've had Peter's birthday on the show, that we've covered it. And it's so great that we've got Richard and Adam here. Because from your guys, okay, I want to know, I kind of want to go around the circle. When did you first discover Peter Jackson? Like, when did you first encounter him? I'll start with Richard. When did you first encounter him?
Brain Dead.
Nice. That's dead alive to everybody in the States.
So, yeah, I didn't know that. So, I'm the youngest of the family. My sister is 7 years older than me, and she had her boyfriend over, and he was like, "You got to watch this film." And I saw the first scene where they're like, Singaya, and like hacking this guy up, and I want to see this, so I got food straight away, and I just was begging to see this film. And I think it was another couple of years. I was about 7, 8 when I got to see it, and yeah, I loved it. It was just amazing, and
I kick ass for the Lord.
The lawnmower strapped to his chest. I love that,
dude.
The dinner table scene in that was nearly as bad as ours.
All right, Adam, when did you first discover Sir Peter Jackson?
I mean, Brain Dead was second, but the first thing I saw was, it can't have been long after it came out. It was probably around 98, which would have made me 10. The Frighteners. I think that was the first Peter Jackson film I saw. And because not long before that, well, when I was 8, so 96, which was when I saw Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time. That was my first horror film I ever saw, and that's what turned me on to horror. But then I eventually watched the Frighteners when it came. I think it was when it came out, and then I started discovering more stuff. And my dad would take me to the video rental store every week, and Brain Dead was one of the films amongst all these crazy 80s and I guess 90s horror films that we'd rent. So, but yeah, it would have been the Frighteners, and then I guess not long after the Lord of the Rings came out.
Nice. For those who don't know, in the Frighteners, the actor who played the judge was the original Gomez Adams.
Really?
Yeah, that was the original. That was the actor who played the original Gomez Adams in the original Adams Family. Yep.
I was watching, I just started watching the first Addams Family with my girlfriend before I got on this podcast today. And I hadn't seen it in years.
So you talking about the movie with Raul Julia or the original show?
Oh no, the movie.
Oh yeah. The original black and white show that ran alongside the Munsters. But yeah, that Lord, I might as well just name him. I'm sitting here talking
Research
about
Corner with JL.
Oh hush. And that's 1960. That was 64 to 66, and that was John Aston.
Oh, okay.
That was John Astin who played it. It was really, really cool to see him pop up just kind of all of a sudden because it was like, holy shit, that's Gomez. That's so. Eugene, first time you encountered you found Peter Jackson's work.
So it sucks because I feel like I have to go the lame route because it would be Lord of the Rings because I didn't get a chance to watch Dead or Alive or / Brain Dead till probably about 10 years ago on it. So, but I mean, it was just Lord of the Rings. I mean, it was just an amazing series. I mean, what all can we say about Lord of the Rings and how that whole trilogy played out? And then on top of that, I do love how Peter Jackson was like, he said he got into filmmaking to redo King Kong. And like that was his ultimate goal was he watched the 1970s version of King Kong and said it was so terrible that he was going to get into filmmaking to fix it. And that was his goal from the start. So everything he did led up to where he did this, I think it's like a 2005 King Kong remake.
Wait, I'm going to spend hundreds of millions of New Line's money to create a sweeping epic across 3 giant films, and it's not my end goal. My end goal is to do the King Kong that will come after this.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
So he started in '76 with the goal. Oh my god. 30 years later. My ride with Peter Jackson has been something quite wild. So I thought my first encounter with it was The Lord of the Rings, that coming out in like 2001. You know, I was pretty young when I saw it for the first time. Actually, I didn't even see it when it first came out. I don't think I saw it for probably 4 or 5 years after it came out. And then I watched them all. But then I found out that I had seen a couple of his movies beforehand, afterwards. Heavenly Creatures with Kate Winslet in it, her debut movie. That I think was my first movie that I saw with that had to do with Peter Jackson, because I know he directed, wrote, and produced that one. But before that, even Meet the Feebles was one that I had seen before Lord of the Rings that I didn't even know. I don't know which one was first. I had seen Meet the Feebles and Heavenly Creatures around the same time. So that was kind of my first. Technically, I didn't even know it was my first encounter with Peter Jackson. But then I found out that I watched him again and I saw his name in the credits and I was like, oh, that's the Lord of the Rings guy. Like, oh my God, that's holy shit. But yeah, I think Heavenly Creatures came first. That was one that he co-wrote with Fran Walsh, his partner. And but that was Kate Winslet. I remember because my parents were like, this is Kate Winslet's first movie. But yeah, that was something else. I don't remember much of it, but I remember that being a movie that I had seen. The Lord of the Rings.
You jumped on mine because my first encounter with Peter Jackson was Meet the Feebles. That was the first time I ever saw any of his work, and I was so the concept of Sesame Street characters from Skid Row blew my fucking mind. The shit that went on, and it was so extreme. I couldn't tell if this was meant to do something or say something, or if this was like an indictment of some kind of the film industry or indictment of something. All I know is that was my entrance to Peter Jackson, was a puppet cat blowing a puppet walrus under the desk, and a syphilitic rabbit throwing up all over everything.
The hippo with the machine gun.
And the hippo with the machine gun blowing away every motherfucker around. That opening scene of her in that giant hippo suit, running down those lights. And I'm like, because it was Meet the Feebles. I was like, what the fucking movie is this? Because my friend was kind of like, hey, I got this crazy movie to watch. Let's do some drugs and watch it. And I was like, okay. So he's like, we throw the movie in and it starts to Meet the Feebles. Okay. And why is there a fucking hippo running down the sidewalk? This is real. Holy shit, this is a puppet movie. Oh my God, this is not for kids. And I loved it to death because I love the consistency of Peter Jackson, in that the one that followed up after that was Dead Alive. Oh my God. This is the one film of all the I've watched Salo, I've watched 120 Days of Sodom, I've watched a Serbian film, and Dead Alive still makes me queasy every time.
That's the one that gets to you.
The fucking eating scene.
Yeah.
When her ear falls off in the goddamn custard. Oh, fuck me. I'm going to get sick. But anyway, There are.
I like that this is. I'm sorry, because you bring this up. This is brought up multiple times on multiple podcast episodes that we've done. Out of all of the things that we've talked about, out of all of the things that you've described that you have seen in your life, I can't believe that this is the movie that gets you the most. Because I thought it was hilarious. I never really got super grossed out because of it. But then you talk about it like it was the most horrific. I don't know. I guess
I'm telling you, the mother is sitting there. She's sitting there. She's like whatever, and then her fucking ear falls off and lands in it, and she's like, I almost lost my shit. I was, and I had to turn. It was so fun, and she's like squeezing her fucking arm and spraying it, and the dude's like fucking eating. I was like, oh come on, dude. It was so gnarly, and it left such a bad taste. That's such in my mouth, but there were things about it I loved. I loved the ass kicking priest. I loved the crazy fucking baby. I loved the fucking intestines that were alive and running around. I don't where that comes from. I have no fucking clue. And of course, him with the fucking lawnmower on his chest. Oh, that was brilliant. That's how you take on zombies. That's how you win points. But yeah, it was Meet the Feebles that kicked it off for me, and it was just. And I loved his continuity because you can see that there are cinematic, or I would say there are camera techniques that Peter uses throughout. And you notice that the one that always stood out to me was in Dead Alive. He frequently did the whole like the I've lost the term for it. It's where the camera zooms in really quick at a kind of a Dutch angle to somebody's face. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, like that quick zoom. Yeah.
It's kind of like, but he does that in Lord of the Rings. When Frodo puts the ring on for the first time at Weathertop and he sees the Nazgul for what they really are, for what they really look like in the spirit realm, that camera technique that zooms into their faces is like, that whole kind of thing. He uses that constantly, and I love that technique. He obviously adores
it as well. There's a lot of strange camera techniques in Evil Dead that kind of remind me of similar things.
Yes, you are correct. Yes, the quick shots into the quick zooms into Bruce Campbell's character, into Ash. That's right.
The only thing I can think of is Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Are we pulling the random lever tonight?
Sorry, my brain's going all over the place, but they do that like repeatedly over and over and over again. And just when you're talking about it. Yeah, it's like they're about to fight.
Well, I think that's a little bit different because in martial arts films or martial arts style films, the quick zoom will be static. It'll be like boom, like right in your face, like boom. Whereas Peter Jackson does like kind of like this sweep into their face while zooming and always into a Dutch angle. I guess in order to get the Dutch angle being used to kind of express the twisted nature of the character that it's zooming into. Or the twisted perception of the character zooming into. But I love the way Peter does it. It's very artistic, and I first saw that in Meet the Feebles really a lot in Brain Dead, and then of course in Lord of the Rings, which I was like, hey, he used that same
Yeah. Has he brought them back available? Because he removed them, all his classic films from availability. And I'm not sure. Has he brought them back yet?
I do not know if they've been re-released. I really don't. I own Meet the Feebles and Dead Alive in bad taste. I got them early because I found that it was like these are going in my collection. They have to. I love seeing I love seeing people's early work. When you guys are up there and you're like directing, Final Destination 10 or whatever major thing you guys are doing, I'll remember Hosts. And Hosts is in my collection. It's in my digital collection currently. Oh, it will be in my physical collection soon. So, and I'll remember that.
Yeah, we do. We like to keep track. We like to follow along. So that way you use the same camera techniques. Like, I remember that. Okay.
I see. They've kind of paid homage to the dinner table scene in Hosts, where they've kind of where the camera's working here, and they I see where they're going here. This is nice.
Yeah, and you could be like, I liked them before, before it was cool and before they sold out to the studios. And
we had them on when they were cool. Now they're just a bunch of pretentious twats.
Directing Avengers 10.
My phone calls anymore. What's going on?
Oh God, I have to say this. It's totally off topic, but you just really they won't even take my phone calls. It was so funny. I met Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery one time because I used to do press for a website, and I met them at a convention one time. Got to sit down and talk with them, and they told this hysterical story when because Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery, they never really like blew up like giants. But Norman Reedus got Walking Dead. Sean is still doing work here and there, but they never really exploded. They're mostly indie. And there was a moment when they were shooting Boondock Saints 2. And they were in a cab. They would finish shooting. They were going to go somewhere to have a drink and just relax and chill out. And so in the cab, it was Sean Patrick Flannery, Norman Reedus was sitting bitch, and over on the side is Clifton Collins Jr. And Clifton Collins Jr. has worked with everyone. So that man is so many films. And of course he came and he did Boondock Saints 2. He replaced David De La Rocca. And they're sitting there and they're trying to decide where they want to go, and they're just hamming back. But then all of a sudden Clifton's phone rings. Clifton gets on the phone. And he kind of does the whole 1 sec. And he's talking to us hey, how's it going? Yeah, blah, blah, like that. And there's and both Sean and Norm was who the fuck's he talking to? Because he's talking yeah, we know this. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Yeah, we'll talk later. Okay. Hangs up the phone, puts his phone in his pocket. Statham. Yeah. Always struck me that you get those moments, and eventually you guys are gonna be hey, oh, hang on, yeah, I can't. I got a meeting with fucking Cameron and shit. He's got some, he's be talking to me, and we're okay.
that will be that'll be a strange day if it ever comes. That'd be a strange day.
It's a lie, I reckon. We'll just have to write it in the thing, and it'll just be Mum or something, and just be Statham.
Too busy, guys. I'm talking to James.
Oh, please.
Hi, Mum. Right.
Please tell. Okay, I hope we have set a precedent here that in the future, when you guys are doing anything on air or like this, if a phone rings, you got to feel that 1 sec, Statham, and you just got to take it, just go.
Done.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. It has been an absolute blast having you both on. This is the first show that we've had two special guests on at the same time, and this has been fucking amazing. We got to do it more often. I want to give you guys the opportunity. Do you have anything coming up or any social media that you guys would like to let our listeners know where they can follow you or check out? Anything you've got?
I mean, I guess we've got Fright Fest this weekend. I don't know if that's going to count for you guys in the US because it's all geo-locked. We're currently working on 3 different scripts for new films, depending on who flashes the cash and what wants to do what. Which big studio wants to ruin?
Warner Brothers, yeah. Sony, if you're listening.
We invite any of you to fuck our shit up.
You're better with kind of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. No. Just to touch on what you said, Rich. Yeah, we got two scripts written for the 2 feature-length films, and in the process of writing a third. And yeah, just looking for the right people to fund it, and whoever wants to do what in terms of what genre. Yeah, we're screening at Fright Fest this Saturday, the 24th of October at 9:45 p.m. If there are any UK listeners, hit us up on Twitter. It's at Hosts Movie. The film is out now in the US and Canada, and yeah, you can see our socials and stuff via Host Movie because that's all we're posting about because we've got a film to promote. And
merch as well.
Oh yeah, and we are. Yeah. Thanks, man. I forgot about that. We're actually selling some limited edition Hosts. Hold on. Ugh. Limited edition Hosts T-shirts and hoodies, which no one apart from the 5 people in here can see right now. But but limited edition Hosts hoodies and T-shirts.
It's got the fucking. I saw it online. I didn't catch the hammer.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the hammer because I saw when the hoodies popped. I was like, "Oh, cool! They're selling hoodies. That's neat." I didn't. It was on my phone, so it was small. But now I've seen it full screen. I was like, "Holy shit! That's the fucking hammer!"
One thing, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but one thing that I noticed earlier when we were talking about this with someone else is that the hammer is the T, right? Which is perfectly placed over the teat. Yeah. But anyway, if anyone wants to pick up one of these limited edition t-shirts or hoodies, there are only a few left. Somehow we've managed to flog most of them. So if you want to pick one of them up, go to www.hostsmovie.bigcartel.com and grab one while you can. And I think that's all the socials I think that I can remember off the top of my head.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our listeners. This has been awesome. It was really good to have you guys on. Check us out at weekinhorror.net. You can go on there and sign up for our email list. We won't spam you, we promise. It just puts your email in for a drawing that we do every month for a mystery t-shirt. So after you go and pick up some of the limited edition host gear, you can go on there and put yourself in for a mystery horror shirt. You can find all of our episodes, all the links to our episodes on there, as well as our bios and just some fun stuff. You can contact us through there as well. Contact us. Please let us know feedback, comments, questions, concerns. We know you've got concerns about JL's well-being. I do too. Hit us up at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Send all your fun stuff there. We're always there, always listening. One of us will get with you. Check out our Daily Splatter on Facebook and Twitter at Weekend Horror. Daily Splatter is a little tidbit of horror knowledge every day for you. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel at Weekend Horror. We've put up all of I think we're up to date on our episodes, as well as our season 1 finale is on there, our live stream. That was fun.
Yeah.
You can check us out on there, comment on there. We'll constantly be watching that as well. If you like what we're doing here, if you want to help us out, support us a little bit, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/weekinhorror. You can go on there and get a little bit of extra content. We will be adding more content soon when we can figure out how, what, when, where, why. But you can get our bloodbaths on there, which we do a monthly bloodbath, which is 2 horror icons that we pit against each other in a formal debate to the death. Find out who will win. We just did our Winchesters and Salvatore's episode, which was fun. That was the first one we've ever done a twofer. We're doing a lot of twofers, huh, guys? We got brothers on one, and
oh my God, it's twofers in 2020.
Twofers.
No.
Dun, dun, dun.
Check it out. Yeah, go check that out. It's a lot of fun. We get on here, we debate, and JL usually kicks our asses. And then when me and Eugene go up against each other, we don't know how to play because JL's completely traumatized us in all these debates. It's been a lot of fun. So go check those out. You get early access to all of our bloodbaths and our after darks, which is where we take the guests that we have captured and sat down and talked to, and kind of get more into the intimate level of talking about stuff going on in the industry, their feelings of how things are going, their thoughts on their movies and other movies, and it's little short tidbits of getting to know these special guests. We've had a lot of pretty cool special guests on here, and this After Dark is going to be something else because we've got 2 doing 2 at the same time.
Right.
Double whammy.
Also,
At least the kind of special guest to double up on a dude like me.
Also, we've got our Discord up now, where you can go in here. The community has come together, and you can chit chat. We've got just your generic chat. You can go on there and play trivia. I mean, you can go on there and talk shit about JL. I think I haven't seen Jessica in there for a while, but yeah, and Eugene needs to get in there. I think we're gonna do a week of Eugene. I think we need to get him in there and just have him be the face of Week in Horror for a while. I haven't seen you in there. It's on you now, bud. But yeah, come to the Discord, talk to us. We're here. It's constantly this whole podcast thing has been insane because it's not just Facebook. It's Facebook, Twitter, Discord. We've got the YouTube that we got to keep up on now. So one of us is always in there. If you want us to specify, we can. But just look at us as Week in Horror as a whole.
I had no idea. I tell you, when we started this thing, I had no idea how it would take over my life. I really, really didn't. I was like, insane. Yo, we're going to have some fun. We're going to shoot a fucking podcast. Yay, we're podcasters. Holy shit.
We get emails and stuff, and it'll pop up on my phone, and I'll go in, and it's already 6 emails in. And I'm like, oh, JL's got some time on break today.
Oh my God. It's not because it's not just, I don't mind the social media. I like this, but I was like, we're going to have fun. And Eugene was very much like, sure, I'll do your podcast. It'll be like, we'll do a few episodes, and then it's going to, my Eugene impression is terrible. And so we're going to do a few episodes, and, it'll be fun, and we'll just kick on. It's like, So over a year later, 57, 58 episodes in, 10 bloodbaths, 10 have now to be 11 bloodbaths, 10 of it's kind of taken on a life of its own now.
Oh yeah.
It's insane. But we keep up as best as we can, and it's been really awesome talking to you guys. It just, the fan base has been incredible. You guys are the best. We were talking about our Patreon and stuff. If you guys want to jump in on that, it's great. Like I said, it's early access, but I believe, how are we doing? The month previous becomes live to everybody. Is it 1 month behind?
The people on our Patreon get our Bloodbaths and our After Darks first. They get access to those first, and then a month later they go live, because we don't want to just pigeonhole people. So
no,
but we will have Patreon specific content, Patreon only content coming very, very soon.
I know I don't want to bring up any specifics on that, because we haven't really put it down on one thing or another, but we've got some ideas, and I think you guys are going to like it. Yeah. So, and we've got tiers in there as low as $1. You can help out for $1 a month. And we understand if you can't. It's been a rough year for everybody involved, but your continued support on our show, listening every week, has been fantastic. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for everything that you guys have contributed to us, because we wouldn't be here without you guys. So thank you so much to our listeners. Check us out on all of the social media. Overwhelm the shit out of JL, and come back and see us next week. I'm Alex.
I'm JL.
And I'm Eugene.
And I want to give our chance for our special guest to sign off as well.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Adam.
And we'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared. She's got to get in on everything.